You know, guys, I like to live by the motto, ask and ye shall receive. And for the past few weeks now, you guys have been asking me to talk about some racing. I don't know anything about racing, so I brought our resident expert, Leo the Suit, in the program, and we're shooting here at Classic Car Club today, the beautiful Alfa Romeo GTV and the Lotus Elise. I'm Matt Farah, that's Leo, and you are watching Garage419. Let's first off by saying, I don't know why, but I like street cars more than I like race cars.
You know, I got the sense of that, and I think as we talk about this, we're going to touch on the core of what's going on with racing right now, because it's all about relevance.
I mean, I know that racing is where all the good sports car technology comes from ceramic brakes. I mean, even the most basic of sports car technologies are trickled down from racing for the most part.
You've got aerodynamics happening. We'll talk about KERS in F1 and energy regeneration. You've got ALMS doing their green thing. And then you've got things like NASCAR that disconnect that relevance and allow you to think about racing and cars maybe separately.
Yeah, for some reason, as much as I want to, I've never been into sports, but as much as I want to get into racing, but I'm finding it hard. Let's start with Formula One. I mean, what I love about Formula One is the once every 10 minutes that they switch to that in-car shot,
there you go,
where I see from the driver's view, you know, how fast Lewis Hamilton is going around this track, and I'm scared.
Well, you've touched on the essence of F1. I mean, F1 is the elite of motorsport. The talent to drive these things really fast, get that lap when you need, the technology, the talent to design these things to make them perform the way they do.
Well, you can tell just by looking at them that so much development has gone into the cars, and you can tell by how few drivers make it to F1 how hard it really is to get there.
What you like is the thing about racing that's so cool. It's very personal, driving a car very, very fast.
Yeah.
When you take that away and you become a fan, you know, you start to decide, well, what's the appeal here? Is it the pit babes? Is it the environment? Is it the passing?
In F1, I really think, and I know everyone says it, there's not enough passing for me. There's 3-4 good passes made in a race, and they call that a good race, and that's the end of it.
Look, it bothers me as a fan. For the same thing. I'm desperately trying to figure out the pit stop strategy, because that's what determines passing in F1.
Yeah.
The times they do go to head-to-head, it is awesome. The new rules with these snowplow front wings and these baby rear wings that just make the car look ugly again.
Yeah, the new cars are not pretty.
Well, what they're trying to do is get rid of the wake behind the car to allow the car to get closer so that they can race each other closer.
Drafting?
Well, not even drafting, just having downforce in the car so you can race. When you're close to a car behind it, when there's so much turbulence, the front of the car loses grip, aerodynamic grip.
Yeah.
Therefore, when you're going through a 4G corner at 100 God knows what miles an hour, if the car in the back has no grip, they've got to back off to maintain that.
So your passes get taken away there.
Right, since you can't get close enough to set it up. So what they're hoping is with this new technology, you'll be able to race the cars closer, get in that corner together, a bigger front wing, a smaller rear wing, smaller wake, and then the Alonso and Hamilton battle can take itself from the corner out to the straightaway to the pass.
We're talking about technology. What about the KERS system? Everyone's talking about KERS. It's basically regenerative braking that is applied towards power.
It's a Prius.
It's the Prius of racing.
It's the Prius of F1.
Is it going to improve or take away from the competitiveness of the sport?
It's hard to say. I think three things come into play. Number one, F1 is trying to make the technology relevant to what's coming down the road. Number two, it's like a push to pass. It's going to give you, I think, 80 horsepower over some period of time. I don't know that part. So it'll give you a boost. Now, everyone can be on the button, and it may equate itself. But the part of it that's problematic is no one's got it to work yet.
And the season is...
Oh, it's a half an hour away. So we don't know whether we're going to have real racing or a bunch of DNFs.
Yeah.
I don't even know how it's going to work. If a KERS doesn't function, does it kill the whole car? Or can you run without KERS?
These are questions I have no idea. We haven't answered these questions yet, but we're going to work on that one again.
I think F1 needs to stay at the pinnacle of racing. I think that Mosley's busy.
With the one design engine, though, can F1 be a leader in technology if they have to cut costs by making it a spec racing series?
I would argue no. You're going to lose the appeal of it, and you're going to lose the satisfaction of a manufacturer being there. A Ferrari, an Alfa, a Lotus.
But what if costs prohibit teams from entering in the first place?
you know, everyone talks about full fields. How many cars do you need to make a great race? When a great race happens, it's 2 cars. Now, I don't want to go to a track and see 2 cars, but they've got 20, 21 cars on the grid right now. That's not the issue, okay? The issue is to keep the manufacturers involved, to keep F1 as an elite part of racing, and to make the technology relevant. A Ferrari, a Porsche, Auto Union, Audi didn't become the names. Alpha, Lotus, they didn't become the names without the F1 heritage. You can't take that away and make it a spec series like the IRL.
Yeah, well, who even knows what's going on with that? Let's move on to that other big racing sport, NASCAR, okay? We'll laugh. Everyone laughs at NASCAR. Having said that, it is still one of, if not, America's most watched sport. Certainly America's most watched motorsport.
I blame...
So it is relevant for something.
For now. It feels like, to me, NASCAR feels like watching George Bush in racing. Okay, there is no perception of reality. There is no relevance. I'm going to blame NASCAR for a lot of the problems in racing because they took racing and made it marketing. So now I've got manufacturers that build cars as a business. Walking away from justifying spending money on racing. Ford, GM, Chrysler, they're cutting their budgets.
Huge.
20, 40, 50%.
Well, as well they should, because I don't want my tax dollars going to NASCAR.
That's a whole other issue, but I agree with you.
I'm just saying, there are probably a few people out there like me who feel that way.
But if racing is marketing, and they think there's another place to spend their money, and the technology of the cars isn't relevant, I mean, it's no longer a fusion.
It's carbureted V8. It's a tube frame with a fiberglass or composite body, and there's not a whole lot else to it.
It's rear drive. It's a body that's supposed to be a 4-door. That's a 2-door. I mean, the biggest technology running right now is to get these new cars of tomorrow to work. They've built them as crab cars, so they angle down the track to turn in the corner, and the suspension technology is a rubber packer, a rubber donut, and that's it's nuts.
Look, there are not huge advancements in car technology from NASCAR. But having said that, I will give them a little bit of credit, and someone out there is going to get mad. I'll give them a little bit of credit. The highlight reels are exciting. The highlight reels of a NASCAR race are exciting. There's a lot of big passes. There's a lot of rubbing. There's a lot of big crashes and fire crashes and things like that, and it's sort of fun to watch. And having been to a NASCAR race and gotten trashed with the sound of NASCAR engine in the background, it has the potential for being a good time.
The sound is cool. The talent pool is not as deep as a 43-car field, and that's why we have all the crashes. I would argue that if you really need a crash, some of those F1 examples are
those crashes are nasty.
A little more dramatic. And is it really about crashing? I mean, what am I watching? Roller derby with, they both have wheels. They both have wheels.
You're watching roller derby with cars.
Then you know what?
That is exactly why people like NASCAR, because it's roller derby with cars.
I would argue there may not be 75 million people that think it's relevant anymore, but maybe it's for someone else. Oh my God, maybe George is tuning in NASCAR.
Maybe.
There you go.
When we come back, we're going to talk about sports car racing, which is the only kind of racing I'm really into, and of course, our question of the day right here on Garage419. How many miles you got on this bad boy?
About 5,000.
Yeah.
With like a 35.
Oh, cool. So it does get driven.
Yeah, we like to drive.
That's key. Garage419.com. Be there. And we're back. Our final kind of racing that we're talking about today is sports car racing. You've got the Rolex Grand Am Series, and then of course you've got the American Le Mans Series, and in Europe, the Le Mans Series, the real version, as they say.
Le Mans and ALMS count. Grand Am doesn't count. Hey, Donahue won his last race.
Grand Am doesn't count?
Grand Am doesn't count. Donahue won his last race.
I happen to like Grand Am.
He cheated, and they let him cheat.
So no one's ever cheated in any sort of racing? That automatically means if you cheat, a form of racing is invalid?
No, but that doesn't make it good sports car racing. You're going to talk about better sports car racing with ALMS and Le Mans.
I'm saying that there is good sports car racing to be watched. I mean, I like watching both ALMS and Rolex series because I can relate to seeing a 911 and a 430 and a Corvette and an Aston Martin on the racetrack that look like the cars that I'm driving.
So I'll get the letters on this one. Okay, Grand Am. The only thing is some of the racing side by side in Daytona Prototype is good. In ALMS,
I'm honestly referring more to the GT class. The Daytona Prototype class doesn't really do it for me.
Then the GT cars in ALMS are a little more technically cool.
Yeah.
And you're going to have a great series in GT2 with Corvette coming to match up with Ferrari.
Yeah.
BMW's there now. Porsche has always been there.
Yeah.
A couple of guys running GT40s, GT Fords, Ford GTs.
Ford GTs.
I'll get it.
Yeah, and there's a V8 Vantage Aston Martin.
Well, if the guy ever shows up again, he'll be at Sebring,
Yeah.
and maybe for the rest of the season. That's going to be great racing.
Yeah.
The sports car stuff, the prototypes, I should say, it's going to be the Acura show because Audi's taking a little bit of hiatus, getting their car ready for the Peugeot battle at Le Mans.
Porsche as well is not doing factory backed anymore.
Yeah, Penske's over there waiting for the money to figure out what Porsche wants to do next, either IndyCar or a prototype.
Yeah.
And Porsche's ready for their next great car for their sports cars.
But I really like the GT class because it's to me seems like the racing is usually closer. There I can relate to the cars. They drive a lot of interesting tracks that I could, you know, I can't get on a NASCAR oval and drive it myself to know what it's like. But all the tracks that they drive in those series, I can go to those tracks and I can drive them.
You're right, and those cars, you know, they feel like some of the performance cars, and they get really, really close. And ALMS loves that last lap, end of the 12-hour Sebring battle between the Porsche and the Ferrari.
Oh,
banging,
one of the best racing videos of all time.
And there'll be more of that.
Yeah, I just think there is a visible link between GT sports car racing and the cars that we get in and drive on the weekends, which that's what does it for me.
And something must be going on because there are 55 spots in the Le Mans 24-hour, 82 entries, and my rumor is I think Nissan's in there with their GTR and GT2.
I could be. I've seen the car. So. That's the thing is something must be going on because with all the other races shrinking, endurance racing is almost at a peak right now.
They're great cars.
Yeah. So here's our question today for you guys out there. We know why I like racing. We know why Leo likes racing. Why do you guys like racing? With NASCAR, it seems to be about the drivers, since all the cars are pretty much the same. With Formula One, it's about the technology, because that's where it all comes from.
And that elite thing,
right. And with sports car racing, you kind of pick a manufacturer, and you say, well, I like the 911, so it's about that. So what is it about racing that makes you guys want to watch it, and what are these guys going to have to do to make racing more of a watchable sport?
How are they going to hold your attention? How are they going to keep your attention? How are they going to grow your interest?
Right. Leave a comment in the boxes below. I'm Matt Farah, and you have been watching Garage419. I'll see you next time.
Take care. I'm not going to respond to those.
Pedophile joke.